Hi, this is Wendy Morin, and today we are going to work on a second grade lesson, which is about looking at geometric shapes, their attributes, and we're actually working specifically on partitioning them, rectangles, into halves, specifically for this lesson. So we will be dividing them in half to get two equal parts of one half, and coming to the conclusion that two halves make one whole. So we are going to interpret these equal shares, okay, in these shapes. And as I said, specifically, we're cutting them in half, partitioning them in half, and we are working primarily with rectangles. So this is an opportunity to reinforce previously introduced materials, the concept of a fraction, specifically the 1/2 fraction, which means both parts are equal. And also we want to reinforce an understanding of the geometric shapes of rectangle and a circle, and reviewing the attributes when it comes up in our lesson, spiraling that information about the attributes of a rectangle. So in a live classroom, you're going to distribute to each student an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and some colored pencils. And if done in a remote setting, you should have the student find a piece of paper and crayons and colored pencils and review what geometric shape the paper is. It's a rectangle, right? How do we know it's a rectangle? Well, because a sheet of paper has right angles here, okay? It also has 8.5 on this side, 8.5 on this side, and then 11 on these sides. All right, so that is how we identify a rectangle. So at this point, we're going to connect to the prior knowledge about what is 1/2 of something. And we're going to ask the students to fold the paper in half in different ways. So if you're doing it in the classroom and you're pairing the students up, you want them to fold it in different ways so they can start a discussion comparing what one piece of paper looks like folded one way and what one piece of paper looks like folded the other way. So it's a good conversation to have, but does it really change the fact that we cut it in half? And no, it doesn't. So you want to encourage the student discussion, comparing the different ways to fold the paper. If it is done in remote, what you want to do is you want the students to share their work, but still have different students sharing different folds so we can see the impact of that. So in the Engage lesson, they showed writing 1/2 on the piece of paper after it was cut in half. All right. But I would also encourage you to have the students write the fraction 1/2, 1/2, because fractions are always a big hurdle for our students to get over. And I feel that by writing 1/2 and tying it to this visual is really a great way for them to make the connection. So we are folding the paper. This is horizontally, diagonally, vertically. We're going to take pencil, marker, whatever, and draw on the fold line, and then we're going to shade 1/2. So does it matter which way we cut the paper? No, as long as we have two equal shares. Once they've folded, the students, you're going to have them open it up and draw that black line on the fold line and have them shade 1/2 of the shape. Like I previously mentioned, I would be writing fractions on there too, so we can get to the point that the students are recognizing that two equal halves equal one whole by writing 1/2, 1/2, 1/2, 1/2. And we are using this vocabulary that we are partitioning it or dividing the paper into two equal shares. So now we're going to actually cut it if we are in a classroom, we can have them cut it. If they're home, they could cut it in half if they're working remotely. And now how can we be sure that we have equal parts or half on each side? And we can put them on top of each other. Do they match? We have equal parts of 1/2. And now put them together, 1/2 plus 1/2 equals 1 whole. All right, so we actually decompose them, right? Cut them, made 2 separate parts, partition them, and then bring them back together to show that 1/2 plus 1/2 equals 1 whole. I would encourage you, like I said before, to write the fraction on here to show that concept. So now, for a first step for our students with disabilities, I would have them look at the 3 shapes, reinforce that they are rectangles. And why are they rectangles? Because of the right angles in each one of them, and because the side lengths across from each other match, but there are different side lengths on different parts. And reinforce that half of them is shaded. Half of each shape is shaded. And how do we know it's half? We could fold it in half and it would fit perfectly. We could cut it and it would fit perfectly on the other side. Always reinforcing 1/2 plus 1/2 is 1 whole. As a next step, I would give them blank. It's a square and some rectangles, and ask them to shade in half. All right. It is scaffolded in that the line is drawn. I would also be reinforcing that this is a square. Why is it a square? What makes it different from a rectangle? Right angles are the same, but the side lengths are all the same here. It's really a great opportunity to help our students get a good grasp of geometry, which they're going to use through middle school and high school. And the spiraling really does help our students with disabilities. Now, I think as a next exercise, you should give them 3 shapes and say, select the ones that are not partitioned into 2 equal parts. Let them circle it and let them articulate, let them explain why they picked those. What makes it different from the one that is partitioned into 2 equal parts? Then I would mix it up. I'd give them some that are divided into equal parts. At this point, I would try to put some circles in there to see if the concept can be transferred over to a different type of shape. And let's see if they are able to find the ones, and I think they will be able to find the ones that are equally divided or equally partitioned, and shade the half where it is equally partitioned. And an example is given to make it easier. So some are half partitioned and some are not, and we've actually thrown some circles in there too. So here's mixed shapes. Now there's no lines drawn. So now we're taking it to the next step. We want the students to partition them. We want the students to actually draw the line. And there's no one right way to do it. I mean, you might draw the line that way, you might draw the line that way, but reinforce that. What is important, if you cut them or if you folded them over, the sides would be equal. And through this whole lesson, I would be stressing 1/2 plus 1/2 equals 1 whole. So remember, for this lesson, we are reinforcing the names and the attributes of the geometric shapes. We are emphasizing that we are partitioning the shapes or dividing them into 2 equal parts. We are connecting 1/2 to the vocabulary half, and we are building on our prior knowledge of fractions that 2 halves are 2 equal shares and 2 equal parts make 1 whole. 1/2 plus 1/2 equals 1 whole. Have a good time with this. It's a fun lesson.